Marcus Reed's unexpected encounter. Marcus Reed had seen enough action in his 3 years stationed on Kepler 442b to know that surprises usually meant trouble. The mining colony had been quiet for months, just the way he liked it. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened during his evening meal break. He was sitting alone near the processing plant, savoring his last protein cube, when she appeared. Not walked, not ran, appeared. 1 second the rocky terrain was empty. The next second a figure emerged from what looked like solid stone itself. The alien girl moved with fluid grace, her skin shimmering like liquid mercury under the twin moons. Before Marcus could even process what he was seeing, she reached out with lightning speed and snatched the food right from his hand. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Hers were deep violet, ancient yet curious, like they held secrets from before Earth's first sunrise. Then she was gone, melting back into the shadows as if she had never existed. Marcus sat there, stunned, his empty hand still extended where his dinner had been. The silence stretched on, broken only by the distant hum of mining equipment and his own racing heartbeat. He looked around, half expecting his crewmates to emerge laughing about some elaborate prank. But the night remained still. That's when he noticed it, a small object lying exactly where she had stood. A necklace unlike anything he'd ever seen. The pendant was made of some kind of crystalline material that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. Strange symbols danced across its surface, shifting and changing like living text. Marcus picked it up carefully. The moment his fingers touched the crystal, warmth spread through his palm and up his arm. Images flashed through his mind, vast ships moving through space, worlds he'd never seen, beings of incredible beauty and power. The visions lasted only seconds, but they left him breathless. His communicator crackled to life. "Reed, you copy? We're picking up some strange energy readings from your location." The voice belonged to Lieutenant Torres, the night shift supervisor. Marcus looked at the necklace, still warm in his palm. Something told him this was bigger than a simple theft. Much bigger. The symbols on the pendant were moving faster now, and he could swear he heard a faint humming sound coming from within the crystal itself. "Reed, respond. Are you okay out there?" He pressed the come button. "Yeah, Torres. All clear. Just ... thought I saw something. Probably just fatigue." He couldn't explain why he lied. Some instinct told him to keep the necklace secret, at least for now. As he walked back toward the main facility, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just taken a turn toward something extraordinary. The alien girl had stolen his food, but she'd left behind something far more valuable, mystery that would soon reveal humanity's true place in the galaxy. The necklace reveals its secrets. Marcus couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the necklace seemed to pulse brighter from where it sat on his nightstand. He'd tried putting it in a drawer, but the humming only grew louder. Finally, he gave up and held it again, hoping to understand what was happening to him. The moment the crystal touched his skin, the world exploded into visions. He saw vast fleets of ships locked in battle among the stars. Human vessels, sleek and powerful, fighting alongside alien craft he didn't recognize. But they weren't fighting each other. They were united against something else. Something dark and terrible that consumed entire worlds. In the vision, he watched as human engineers worked frantically alongside alien scientists, their combined knowledge creating weapons and defenses that neither species could have developed alone. He saw a human commander, a woman with steel gray hair and determined eyes, standing on a bridge next to a tall, elegant being that looked remarkably like the girl who had stolen his food. The scene shifted, and Marcus found himself observing a council chamber where representatives from dozens of species sat in heated debate. The humans were outnumbered, clearly the newcomers to this galactic community, but their voices carried weight. They spoke of courage, of sacrifice, of never backing down from a fight worth fighting. Then came the most shocking vision of all. He saw Earth not as it was now, but as it could be. Massive space elevators reached toward the stars, and ships launched daily toward distant worlds. Humanity had not only joined the galactic community, but had become its backbone, the species that others turned to when hope seemed lost. The visions faded, leaving Marcus gasping in his bunk. But the necklace wasn't done with him yet. New images began to flow, darker ones. He saw the mining colony where he worked, but it wasn't just a simple resource extraction operation. Deep beneath the surface, something ancient waited, something that could tip the balance of an interstellar war. His communicator buzzed with an urgent message. All personnel report to the main assembly hall immediately. Priority Alpha. Marcus tucked the necklace under his shirt and hurried to the meeting. The hall was packed with confused miners and technicians. Director Hamilton stood at the front, his usually calm demeanor replaced by barely controlled excitement. People, we've made a discovery. Deep core scanning has revealed a structure beneath the planet's surface. It's artificial, and it's old. Older than human civilization. We're talking about first contact archaeology here. Marcus felt the necklace grow warm against his chest. He thought about the girl, about her ancient eyes, and the way she had moved like liquid starlight. This wasn't coincidence. She had led him to this moment, left him the necklace for a reason. "Sir," Marcus found himself saying, surprising everyone, including himself. "What kind of structure?" Hamilton's eyes gleamed. "Something that could change everything, Reed. We're talking about technology that could advance human civilization by centuries, maybe millennia." Around him, his crewmates murmured with excitement about the possibilities. Fame, fortune, advancement, the usual dreams of miners who stumbled onto something big. But Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The visions had shown him enough to know that some discoveries came with a price. The necklace pulsed once more, and he heard something that made his blood run cold. Footsteps, many footsteps, coming from deep beneath the facility. Ancient guardians stirred. Excavation began at dawn. Marcus watched from the observation deck as massive drilling equipment tore into the planet's crust, following the energy signatures that had been detected in the deep scans. With each meter they descended, the necklace grew warmer against his chest, and the visions became more frequent. He saw the structure clearly now, a vast complex of chambers and corridors that stretched for kilometers beneath the surface. It wasn't just old, it was a tomb, and they were about to wake what lay sleeping inside. "Reed, you're on deep reconnaissance," Director Hamilton called out. "Suit up. We need eyes on whatever's down there." Marcus nodded, though every instinct screamed at him to refuse. As he prepared his gear, he caught a glimpse of familiar violet eyes watching from the shadows near the equipment bay. The alien girl had returned, but she looked different now. Worried, urgent, she stepped forward, just far enough for him to see her clearly, then pointed toward the excavation site and shook her head violently. The message was clear: stop digging. But it was too late. The drill had already broken through into the first chamber. The moment the breach was complete, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Emergency lights bathed everything in red, and Marcus felt the necklace suddenly turn ice cold against his skin. Down in the excavation pit, something was moving. "All teams, fall back." Hamilton's voice cracked over the intercom. "We have multiple contacts emerging from the structure. Unknown hostiles." Marcus ran to the observation window and looked down into the pit. What he saw made his blood freeze. Massive figures were climbing out of the breach beings that looked like they were carved from living stone, their eyes glowing with the same energy that pulsed through his necklace. They moved with ancient purpose, and their attention was focused on the mining equipment that had disturbed their rest. The first guardian reached the surface and let out a sound that wasn't quite a roar, wasn't quite a song. It was something older, a call that resonated through the very foundation of the facility. More guardians emerged, their stone bodies crackling with energy that made the air itself shimmer. "Marcus!" the voice came from behind him. He turned to see the alien girl standing in the doorway, no longer hiding. Her people's clothing shifted and flowed like liquid light, and her violet eyes burned with urgency. "The necklace. You must. Use it now, before they fully awaken." "Use it how?" Marcus demanded, pulling the pendant from under his shirt. It was pulsing so rapidly now that it looked like a strobe light. "Your people disturbed the vault of echoes," she said, moving closer. "The guardians will not stop until they believe the threat is ended. But you carry the voice of harmony. You can speak to them." Down in the pit, the first guardian had reached the mining equipment. With a casual gesture, it reduced a 50-ton excavator to scrap metal. The other miners were evacuating, their terrified shouts echoing through the facility. Marcus looked at the necklace, then at the girl. "Who are you?" "I am Zara of the Ethereal Collective," she said. "And you, Marcus Reed, are the key to preventing a war that could destroy both our species." The facility shook as another guardian emerged from the depths. Through the window, Marcus could see human security forces taking positions, their weapons trained on the ancient beings. It was about to become a massacre. "What do I do?" he asked. Zara's eyes met his. "You trust me, and you remember that sometimes the greatest courage is knowing when not to fight." Marcus gripped the necklace tighter and felt its power flow through him. The visions had shown him this moment, he realized. This was why she had chosen him, why she had left the necklace where only he would find it. The real test was just beginning. Marcus becomes the bridge. The necklace felt alive in Marcus's hands as he descended into the excavation pit. Every step brought him closer to the guardians, and with each step, their ancient song grew louder in his mind. It wasn't threatening, it was mournful, filled with the weight of eons spent in solitude. Zara moved beside him, her presence somehow calming the chaotic energy that swirled around them. "They have been sleeping for over 10,000 years, she explained as they approached the first guardian. "My people placed them here to protect something precious, something that was never meant to be disturbed." The guardian turned its massive stone head toward them. Its eyes were like molten gold, ancient and wise. Marcus felt the necklace pulse once, and suddenly he could understand the being's thoughts. It wasn't angry. It was confused, lost. The world it had been created to protect had changed beyond recognition. "I can hear it," Marcus whispered in amazement. "It's asking what happened to the ones who built this place." "Behind them, Director." Hamilton's voice crackled over the radio. "Reed, get back here. We've got military units en route. If those things are hostile, we need to evacuate immediately." Marcus ignored the radio and stepped closer to the guardian. The necklace grew warm, and he felt words forming in his mind. Not his words, but something older, more fundamental. He opened his mouth and spoke in a language he had never learned, but somehow understood perfectly. The guardian's eyes widened, and it knelt down to Marcus's level. When it spoke, its voice was like distant thunder, but Marcus heard every word clearly. The being called itself Keeper of the First Threshold, and it had been waiting for someone who could speak the voice of harmony. "My people are gone," Zara said softly, and Marcus realized she was translating for the guardian. "The Ethereal Collective scattered across the galaxy millennia ago. But before we left, we established this vault as a test, a way to judge whether other species were ready for what lies within." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "What's in the vault?" The guardian gestured toward the breach in the ground, and Marcus saw deeper chambers stretching into the darkness. But these weren't empty spaces. They were filled with something that made the air itself seem to vibrate with possibility. Technology, Zara explained. The combined knowledge of 12 civilizations that came before yours. Faster than light travel, energy manipulation, the secrets of consciousness itself. Everything humanity would need to take its place among the stars. But Marcus could sense there was more. But it comes with a price. The Guardian spoke directly to his mind. Those who would claim this knowledge must prove they can use it wisely. Too many species have destroyed themselves with power they weren't ready to wield. Behind them, the sound of approaching vehicles grew louder. Marcus turned to see military transports arriving at the facility, their weapons already trained. On the Guardians, the situation was about to spiral out of control. The test, Marcus said urgently. What is it? The Guardian's eyes blazed brighter. Your people must choose. They can claim the vault's treasures by force, as conquerors have tried before, or they can prove they are ready to join the greater community of worlds. The choice will define humanity's future among the stars. Marcus felt the necklace pulse one final time, and suddenly he understood everything. The theft of his food, the girl's mysterious appearance, the timing of the discovery, it had all been orchestrated, but not by Zara or her people. By something larger, something that had been watching humanity's development with careful attention. There are others, he realized. Other species. They're watching to see what we choose. Zara nodded gravely. The Galactic Council has been debating humanity's potential for decades. This is your final examination, Marcus. And you've been chosen to speak for your entire species. The first military unit reached the pit's edge, and Marcus heard the commanding officer shouting orders to prepare for assault. Time was running out. Marcus looked at the Guardian, then at Zara, then at the necklace in his hands. The visions had shown him two possible futures, one where humanity joined the galactic community as equals, and another where they remained, isolated, feared, and ultimately destroyed by their own ambition. The choice was his to make. The decision that shaped the stars, Marcus stood at the crossroads of destiny, feeling the weight of humanity's future in his hands. Around him, the Guardians waited in perfect stillness, their ancient eyes reflecting the wisdom of civilizations that had risen and fallen long before humans had learned to make fire. Above, the military forces were taking position. He could hear Director Hamilton arguing with the commanding officer, insisting that the discoveries below were too valuable to risk in a firefight. But Marcus understood now that the real treasure wasn't the technology in the vault. It was the choice itself. Your people are remarkable, Zara said softly. In all our observations, we've never seen a species advance so quickly, from primitive tools to interstellar travel. But speed isn't everything. Wisdom matters more. Marcus felt the necklace pulse gently in his hands. Through it, he could sense the presence of others beings from across the galaxy who were watching this moment with keen interest. Some hoped humanity would pass the test. Others were convinced they would fail, as so many species had before them. The warlike Dominion failed this test 3 millennia ago. The Guardian's voice rumbled through his mind. They chose conquest over cooperation. Within a century, they had destroyed themselves and 7 neighboring worlds. The synthetic collective passed, but barely. They learned to value harmony over efficiency. And the ethereal collective ... They transcended the test. Entirely. What does that mean? Marcus asked. It means they became something more than they were, Zara explained. They chose to scatter across the galaxy, not as conquerors or even explorers, but as gardeners, planting seeds of wisdom wherever they went, waiting for species like yours to grow ready for the harvest. The sound of charging weapons echoed from above. Marcus realized he had only moments before the situation exploded into violence. He looked at the Guardian, then at Zara, then at the necklace that had brought them all together. What happens if I choose wrong? He asked, thought the Guardian's expression was grave. then humanity remains as it is isolated, suspicious, gradually, consuming itself through internal conflict. The vault seals itself for another 1,000 years, and the galaxy moves on without you. And if I choose right, then your species joins the greatest community in the universe. You learn from civilizations that have existed for millions of years. You contribute your unique perspective to challenges that affect entire star systems. You become gardeners yourselves, helping younger species find their way to the stars. Marcus closed his eyes and let the necklace's warmth flow through him. In that moment, he felt connected to every human who had ever lived, every choice that had brought his species to this point. The courage of explorers, the wisdom of teachers, the sacrifice of those who had died protecting others, all of it led to this single decision. When he opened his eyes, he knew what he had to do. Marcus walked to the edge of the pit and called up to the military forces. "Stand down. I'm coming up, and I'm bringing representatives with me. No weapons, no hostility. We're going to talk. Reed, you're not authorized to negotiate." The commanding officer shouted back. "I'm not negotiating," Marcus replied, his voice carrying new authority. "I'm making a choice for all of us." He turned to the Guardian. "We choose cooperation. We choose to learn. We choose to prove that humanity is ready to join the galactic community not as conquerors, but as partners." The Guardian's eyes blazed with approval and let the test begin in earnest. But know this, Marcus Reed, the real test isn't about technology or power. It's about whether your species can maintain its humanity while gaining the wisdom of the stars. As Marcus climbed out of the pit with Zara beside him, the necklace in his hands began to glow with a new kind of light. Not the harsh brilliance of weapons or the cold gleam of technology, but the warm radiance of understanding. Around the galaxy, other species took notice. Humanity had made its choice. The girl who had stolen his food had given him something infinitely more valuable in return, the chance to steal a future worthy of the stars themselves. And as the first human to speak the voice of harmony, Marcus Reed knew that his species' greatest adventures were just beginning. The real journey to the stars had started with a simple act of trust, and it would be built on the foundation of choices made not in conquest, but in hope.